Here I am ambling at night, and I want to talk about the comments made by the former First Lady. That was no lady. This bird, this broad, this this insufferable harridan. I don't even want to say her name. Where'd my shadow go? Oh, my shadow is now striding behind me. Would you look at that? How about that? There he is. Your shadow. Your shadow always catches up to you. Well, this is like a political, a political thing. I normally wouldn't comment. It's like, oh, politics, oh, the Democrats and the Republicans, But the reason why I feel compelled to talk about this particular subject, first of all, this insufferable harridan, this this nasty woman, she just cannot ever help herself, can she? Remember the basket of deplorables? She's not even running now. And she still has to sling that garbage. She still has to talk down to people who, to half of the country, essentially. It's people who aren't on her side, or aren't on her team's side. But this time, it's more frightening in its implications. She said, in case you didn't know, because this certainly made headlines, if her goal was to make headlines, then she made them. But I don't believe that there's no such thing as bad publicity, personally. Because this is just nuts. This is a statement that just smacks of it doesn't leave very much to the imagination, does it? What she said was, we're going to need a mass deprogramming of Trump supporters. And what she meant by Trump supporters was anybody who wasn't on her side, wasn't on the side of the Uniparty, wasn't on the side of the neoliberal, neocon alliance, the globalist alliance. That's who she meant. That there needed to be a mass deprogramming of this cult. She didn't even just say, I think they're like a cult. I think Trump supporters are like a cult. She didn't because she's such a vindictive person, she has to make her bloody thoughts known to the world. Remember, she's the same one. This is the same woman. If I dare call her that, if I dignify her with that name, this is the same one who said of Julian Assange, can't we just drone strike this guy? Yep, she said that. She said that about Julian Assange. So this is somebody, again, you want to know, well, like, why do people hate Hillary so much? I just don't understand it. Why? It must just be misogyny. No. It's because she's awful. So anyway, let's get back to it. There needs to be a mass deprogramming. Like, okay, if I were the interviewer, I'm sure they didn't ask her this, but if it were me doing the interview, I would say, well, what do you have in mind? Former Miss First Lady, former not the president, former loser in a presidential race. What do you have in mind when you say mass deprogramming? Like, what would satisfy you? What would you think would be a good plan to deprogram these people you're talking about as cult followers because they're not on your side? I mean, what does a mass deprogramming look like? Those were her words. She said we got to look into having a mass deprogramming. Well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do to deprogram all of us? You know, cult deprogrammers would it was a tactic that they used. Maybe it wasn't a typical tactic, but it was not a tactic that they neglected to use. If they thought that somebody was in a cult and they wanted to rescue that person from a cult, they would sometimes kidnap them. They would kidnap that person, take them away, lock them in a hotel room, and then keep them prisoner and harangue them every day with, your cult leader is a charlatan. Look, he did this. Look, he did that. You know, just a bludgeoning of. That was the whole idea, to try to break their programming. Hence the word deprogramming. Deprogramming is an aggressive activity. We're not talking about we need to do a better effort at reaching them. We need to do a better effort at persuading them. We need to help them to see that the error of their ways. This isn't the language that she's using. She's saying we need to have a mass deprogramming. I don't know if I've ever heard the term mass deprogramming used before. I mean, because really, what would that look like? I mean, that I have an idea what that would look like. You know, it sounds an awful hell of a lot like taking people away, throwing them in camps, maybe subjecting them to torture or some other type of similarly unpleasant treatment, maybe sleep deprivation, maybe making people get in stress positions like they did at Abu Ghraib, right? Deprogramming. I mean, you're not just trying to get them. It's not like just like Abu Ghraib, though, because it's not just like, we're going to make them talk. We're going to make them tell us where their troops are. We're going to, find out. We're going to torture them to find out what they're planning so that we can stop it. No, this is we got to change them. We got to get them. We got to throw them into room 101 and teach them to love Big Brother. That's what it sounds like to me, except it's not just one person. Even in 1984, Winston Smith was just one man that we were told was getting ritually programmed, not really, deprogrammed from his recalcitrant ideas freedom and programmed into loving Big Brother, loving tyranny and oppression, thinking that it's good. But that's just one person. Imagine that on a mass scale. Mass deprogramming. Do you hear me yet? Do you understand how frightening that is? Even if you happen to be watching this, and I don't know, you think of yourself as a liberal or whatever. I mean, you can't really find refuge in saying, "Oh, she just meant it metaphorically." What do you mean? What's a metaphorical mass deprogramming? How do you metaphorically mass deprogram people? Now, is this going to happen? No, I'm not saying it's going to happen. But when these are the attitudes, I mean, it's not going to happen because it's impractical. Not because they don't want to do it, but because, it's kind of impractical to take half the country, take, I don't know, 70, 80, 90 million people, however many that you consider to be bad thinkers. It's a little unwieldy, how you're going to manage that, right? How are you going to pull that off? Do you have the resources to do that? What if they fight back? What if the people who you want to stage this mass deprogramming against, this aggressive mass deprogramming, because deprogramming, again, is an aggressive term. What if they resist deprogramming? And you're trying to do it to half of a country the size of the United States. You can't manage that. So, what I think it does show, however, is a certain kind of attitude. It's the same thing that got exposed not long ago in one of those surreptitious things where they recorded somebody for PBS, I think, who worked for PBS, I think it was. Just some relatively low level flunky who was talking about how we need to take kids of Trump supporters away from them, because if they're Trump supporters, then they're obviously abusive. Yes, he actually said that. And we should, what was it? We should trick them into, no, it's a good thing that they're not getting Bajed. It's a good thing that they're not getting the injection, because then they'll die off, and then we can take their kids away. And I mean, they've got a real thing about taking their kids away and rescuing them and filling their minds with the proper ideology, i.e. theirs. But that was just some low-level, unimportant person. This is somebody of the very, on the very high echelons of power. And she's saying we need to have a mass deprogramming. Is she losing her mind? Is that what's going on? Is she just losing her mind? Are we supposed to feel sorry for her because she's just got a touch of the dementia that's afflicted our fearless leader at this present time? It's spread to her as well. No, I don't think so. I think we're hearing. I think she's being honest with us, and that's one thing we'll say. One thing I'll say for her. This is a woman who is chronically dishonest. On this occasion, anyway, she's finally being honest. I mean, brutally honest. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think below.